coming up in today's episode.
That was a great curveball at the end.
And I handled it.
Yeah,
I handled it.
No,
I think I hit it like at least a double.
It was over the fence. I think a lot of people say, as long as my child or my spouse is with me in heaven, then I'll be at peace, then heaven will be heaven. But it can't be. At the end of our lives, every one of us is going to have to let go of all of it, except for him.
We're in deep water with this, really, because I think you're at the heart of what all the spiritual masters talk about. Can you let go of even the thing you love the most in the world for the sake of loving God? And that's the heart of it.
Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and in this series, we're talking with 3 special guests about the seasons of waiting. If you'd like to see more, be sure to download the Ascension app from the App Store on your smartphone or tablet, or visit ascensionpress.com/FatherMikeAdvent. I'm releasing a new video in the Ascension app every single day during Advent with reflections on what it means to wait well. Today, we are at the Good News Conference, and I'm joined by Bishop Barron, the Bishop of the Diocese of Winona and Rochester, as well as the founder of Word on Fire Catholic Ministries, as well as the Catholicism Project, as well as 1,000 other things.
Father Mike, good to be with you. We fellow Minnesotans, we got to stick together.
I'm in the north.
I'm in tropical Minnesota.
Tropical. I've never heard that.
That's what they call it. Yeah.
I like it because it is. You all get probably another month of summer than maybe a month and a half.
It's a lot like Chicago. So I grew up in Chicago.
Yeah.
I find that southern Minnesota is pretty much the same.
It's just lateral.
Right. So I'm used to it.
Yeah.
People say, oh, Minnesota, it must be so calm. I grew up with it. I'm used to it.
Not as far west as California was.
California was great in its own way. I loved it, but I don't mind Minnesota at all.
What's something that you say, I now appreciate more having spent a number of years now in Minnesota?
I appreciate more about the Midwest. Well, I think it reaffirmed everything that I loved about it. I love the change of seasons. Yeah. I kind of missed that actually in California.
I can imagine.
Even though I loved it, I could play golf on Christmas Day after Mass. That was nice. But I do miss the change of seasons. I like fall a lot. Mm-hmm. The last 2 Octobers I've been in Rome for the Synod.
Oh, that's right. Missed it.
The best month. This year, I've been savoring October. It's gorgeous in Rochester. So no, I like the change of seasons.
Yeah, it's awesome. And the weather up north has been this
pretty
fall,
good.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It got cold, so the leaves turned. I thought we lost them.
Yeah.
Then it got warm again, and they just popped. And so the last week or two has been just absolutely beautiful.
I went to Duluth the first time in the summer. We had a bishop's meeting up there. Yeah. It was gorgeous. I remember coming over the hill, and you see Lake Superior glistening in the distance, and then you kind of come down to the city of Duluth. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, it is. I think they call it the San Francisco of the Midwest.
Well, it's not totally unlike San Francisco. Seriously, when you come over and you see the Lake Superior, it's not unlike San Francisco.
Yeah. And I think on that trip, our bishop had organized a special excursion.
Yes, he did.
Even further north than Duluth.
Yes, he did. And it's funny because I love Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
So I had said to him privately, hey, we're going to be in Duluth. How far is it to Hibbing, Bob Dylan's hometown? He said, an hour and 20 minutes or so. So I was just going to arrange like a little something for me. Well, unbeknownst to me, he arranges a whole day for all the bishops.
Bus with everybody.
We all got in a bus. We drove to Hibbing. And actually, I had a great time. I loved it. Bob Dylan's high school, Hibbing, it's amazing.
It is incredible high school.
And there's the auditorium where he first performed. There's his home. So I run out of the bus, have my picture taken at Bob Dylan's house. No, I loved it. It was a great trip.
There was so that was one of my first assignments.
Was it Hibbing?
Yeah.
No kidding.
And so there's this old guy who was the sacristan. As set up daily mass. His name is Bill Law, L-A-H, Bill Law. And at one point, turns out, Bill was the vice principal of the high school back in the day. And I was like, okay, interesting. I was there for a year, and I once asked, I said, Bill, I heard there was a story once where Bob Dylan had there was a variety show or a talent show, and he went out and he started playing, and someone pulled the plug and said, like, no, you're done. This is not good.
Did he say it's true?
And Bill was like, oh, Bobby? Yeah, that was me. I was like, you're the guy who pulled the plug. And he's like, yeah, it was awful. It was horrible.
They say he played very raucous rock and roll as a kid. Yeah. And then he goes into the folk period. But the early thing was raucous, banging the piano, rock and roll.
He was like, it was just so loud. I was like, you got to be done. I was like, this is an iconic story. And he was just like back before Mass on a Tuesday morning going, yeah, that was me.
Oh, yeah, he was terrible. That's pretty good.
Okay, so we're going to do this series for Advent, knowing that Advent is a season of preparation. It's a season of waiting. But how do we wait? Well, I think sometimes we can see waiting as passive. I'm an observer. I'm a passive observer of life or of what's happening. I have to wait for someone else. And I'm just inactive. But I think the invitation, especially during Advent, is, and for life, is I'm actively engaged
It's
in this process.
attentive waiting.
Attentive waiting, yeah.
Looking for something or for someone, not just dumbly, waiting for whatever. Like, I'm expecting, I'm hoping, I'm attending, I'm intending. So it's a very active process. And I think it always strikes me every Advent season is all of life is Advent. The 4 weeks of Advent name something that's true of all of life. Think of the Bible ends basically with "Come, Lord Jesus." It's a church waiting for the Lord. And now for the last 2,000 years, we've been in that same stance. Or think in like a monastic context of keeping vigil. The importance of vigil, waiting, I'm expecting, anticipating what's to come. That attitude has got to be deep in us year round. And the particular season of Advent teaches us that.
Well, when you first said that word "expecting," it just like sparked something. I just that I haven't thought about or really reflected on a lot. Where there is, when there's an expectation, because I always go back to this place of a phrase that I'll say to our students a lot is expectation is a killer of joy. What I mean by that is like, well, I thought it would be like this. Well, it's not like that, and then I disengaged from reality. But there is an expectation that we are encouraged to have when it comes to God is doing something and He's going to do something. Ultimately, our expectation is heaven, and ultimately, in some ways, what we're waiting for is, or you mentioned, Advent is a microcosm of this whole life, and the thing we're waiting for, shooting for, is heaven.
And it's where a lot of the poetry and drama and in some ways struggle of life comes from, because what we want, ultimately, we can't see it clearly through a glass darkly, right? We anticipate something that is not immediately apparent to us. And so the summum bonum, the highest good, is not a good that I directly see. I sense it, I intuit it, I'm called to it. But it means there's something painful about it. If there's like the good right now, drinking a cup of coffee, it's a good thing.
It is.
It really is good. It's right here in front of me, and there it is. I got it. But I also know, but that's not the summum bonum. I'm longing for so much more. But then even great conversation, a great friendship, a beautiful scene in nature, those are all goods, but they're not the summum bonum. We know that. But what is the summum bonum? Well, I don't clearly see it. I have to be in an attitude of hoping and waiting and watching. That's the poetry of it. That's the beauty of it and the struggle of it. I always think of what F. Scott Fitzgerald said, the worst things in life, he said, are to try to please and not be able, to lie in bed and not to sleep, and to wait for someone who does not come. Those 3 worst things in life. And you think about, I remember as a little kid waiting for my mother to come pick me up after practice or something. Where is she? She's late now. Oh no, it's not her. Waiting for someone that doesn't come is a terrible thing in a way. Well, that's life. When it comes to the summum bonum that we're waiting for, it won't come on our timetable, And so there is something, there's that longing and aching that's part of life. That's the Advent thing. But it's an orientation toward the summum bonum. So it's wonderful. That's the drama. That's life. You're in that space.
Why do you think we don't, in that, you mentioned, have a cup of coffee, it's right here. Got it right now. There's an immediacy, Why do you think we don't see what we're waiting for or get what we're waiting for when it comes to the greatest good?
It's a super question, and it's a classic question in apologetics called the "why not heaven now" problem. All right, so heaven, and all of us freely seeking the supreme good and having the full enjoyment of God. Why didn't God just get it over with? Just create us like that? Why the travail of this life? Well, I can't give you a really beautiful, clean, clear answer, but I think something like this: if the summum bonum is attained through an act of love. So I attain to God, so to speak. I become God's friend through love. Well, love can't be compelled. Love can't be forced. By its nature, it's something that is chosen, it's willed. And therefore, something like a test, seems to me, is essential to it. There has to be some kind of, well, I'm tempted in this direction, or maybe that. No, I choose this good, right? Out of a variety of people, no, I choose to be with you, right? Even the angels are tested.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, every creature of God, even the angels are tested in their love of God, because the only God is love straight through. Only God is love by his very nature, because he's Trinitarian. God is love. But no creature is love. Creatures have to love as an act of the will, right? Therefore, testing seems to be part of it. And is that one reason why this life is a kind of test? And I know that's maybe not the most popular thing to say, but I think there's something basically right about, inescapable about it, that we're tested so that we are now freely give ourselves to God. And we need this life as that testing ground. The angels needed a testing ground. So a fortiori, we need a testing ground. And that's one way to look at this life, right? Good, but not perfect. Teresa of Avila says, this life is like a bad night in a bad hotel, right? So, all right, you're in a bad hotel, you're alive, but it's not the best thing going. Well, that's this life. It's wonderful, very good, the Bible says, but it's not the summum bonum, right? So I'm in it's a bad hotel, and I'm longing for what I really want.
Well, you had said that it's attained through love. And I think that sometimes when we reflect on this question, like, well, why would God put us on this earth? Why not heaven now, as you said? That piece that you had highlighted, it's attained through love.
Yeah.
Sounds like, no, it's not about necessarily, I believe it, so why can I have it? Or it's not about, well, wait, you're not, maybe it is could it be a, wait, you're not ready yet? In the sense of, like, here's a good parent who would say, you actually have to get to the place where you can receive the gift because you're not ready yet. So whether that's, I don't know, I can't think of a good example but your older sister got this, your older brother got this, but you're not ready for it yet.
Yeah.
And so this process.
There's a lot to that. I was thinking of Augustine, why aren't prayers answered immediately?
Right.
That the heart might expand.
Grows are, yeah.
Which is a very perceptive answer because, okay, God gives me exactly what I want right now, but it overwhelms me, it breaks me, I'm not ready for it, or I'm not longing with a sufficient energy. And so as I'm forced to wait, the heart expands, so that when I receive it, I'm able to receive it. But think too, like, go back to the testing for a minute. Why is Abraham tested the way he is? In that awful way on Mount Moriah. Yes, Isaac, Isaac, the son of the promise. See how God almost rubs it in.
Right.
Isaac, whom you love.
You're only one whom you love, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want you to sacrifice him to me. Now, you say, how cruel. It's not that. It's what the Bible typically does that, is to say, okay, yes, Isaac is truly good, a great high good, but not the summum bonum. And so the test is, do you love me even more than the best things in this world that you love? And I know it's awful, but that's that's the trial, if you want, that's testing the quality of your love for the summum bonum. Jesus saying, the guy, hey, look, I'll follow you, Lord, but let me bury my father.
Right.
Let the dead bury their dead. He's not being difficult with them. He's not anti-family. It's saying the family is a great high good, but not the summum bonum. And so are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to grow in the proper direction? Life is like that in a way. It's a series of tests in that way.
Well, it seems like, too, they're not arbitrary.
No.
So here's Abraham, and Isaac is the one he longed for. This is the temptation would be, oh no, Isaac is everything.
He's
you made your whole life about this because your whole life you haven't, now you have. And there's something intrinsic about, okay, if there's anything that your heart would be attached to more than it would be attached to me, it would be this.
Yes, and that's why the test is applied precisely there. It's the drama, difficulty, agony, joy of the spiritual life is to kind of be in that space. Tested so that you might be ordered to God. Here's the thing I find really interesting in the spiritual masters when they say the test of real spiritual maturity is falling in love not with the benefits of God, but with God.
In the person of God.
That's it. Yeah. Because see, the benefits of God, so let's say you're Abraham. God has given me family and children and lands and how wonderful. God's blessed me. Yeah, but what if God took all that away? Now look at the book of Job. It's exactly that thing. Do you love the benefits of God? Well, I'm going to take them all away. Do you love the benefits of God or do you love God? Because see, God is the summum bonum, not the benefits of God. And actually, it does redound to your greater joy when you love the will of God for its own sake, even when it looks like no benefits for you, right? But man, that's a difficult space to get into. You know, very often the masters say this, John of the Cross says this, that when God is first kind of luring you into friendship, he'll give you a lot of benefits. Or Ignatius, consolations, right. Good, and that's appropriate, you know. But then watch when he takes the consolations away. That's when you're really coming to life spiritually, because now you're being drawn into the space where you love God.
Yeah.
Now, you know, the cross, I mean, it's at the heart of Christian spirituality. Jesus on the cross, every benefit stripped away from him, right? Every negativity imaginable. And that's what we put up in front of us, the cross of Jesus, right? Do you love the benefits of God or do you love God? And you got to be a high saint to be fully in that space. You know, people like me we're being tested, see, all the time. I'm being tested. I got to wait because I know I'm not there, you know, but that's life.
Well, it sounds like too, you know, I when a kid asks or a person asks, will my dog be in heaven? Or my pet be in heaven, kind of thing, or golf be in heaven, whatever.
Right.
And
well,
you
golf
know,
will, yeah.
and the answer, I think a lot of people say is, well, you know, if you need your dog to be happy in heaven, your dog will be in heaven, knowing that you won't need your dog to be happy in heaven, because if I needed my dog to be happy in heaven or anything, then I'm not ready for heaven. Like my heart isn't ready because I have an attachment that, as long as, you know, or a deeper thing, as long as my child or my spouse is with me in heaven, then I'll be fully joyful. Then I'll be at peace. Then heaven will be heaven. But it can't be until God alone, right?
Right, and we're on the edge of a paradox in a way, because I mean, God wants us to be fully alive, and God wants us to have every possible joy, and all those things, from golf to your dog, are anticipations of that. They're all signs. They're sacramental indications of what God wants. So, like, in a way, in having God, I have all of that, right? Because all things participate in God. So it's that paradox of, the more I give those things away, the more I get them, because I have to give them away in order properly to have them, might be a way to do it. And that's the whole ascetic life. It's not throwing things away because they're bad.
They're bad.
It's throwing them away because they're good, but not the summum bonum, so that I might have them now properly. You know?
That word disinterested, like disinterested, the term disinterested love, doesn't mean I kind of don't really care about you as much as it is, I love you for your own sake.
Right.
That not for what I get out of you.
Apatheia.
So so if one loved their spouse that way, or they loved their children that way, then they would actually, it seems like they would love them more than here's who you are to me.
Well, again, there's the high paradox. A spouse that will give his life for his spouse. Do you love the benefits, or do you love your spouse? Do you love what's good for you in it, or do you love your spouse for her own sake? And that's a very rarefied spiritual space to move into. But see, marriage is probably the best example. People really do enter that space. And that's why we say it's a sacrament, a sign of Christ's love for his church. But we're in deep water with this, really, because I think you're at the heart of what all the spiritual masters talk about. And it's dangerous space. Most of us want to steer clear of that. It's a little too much. That's why the Abraham Isaac story, I love preaching on that, because people, I hate that story, and how terrible, and God is so cruel. And no. The Bible is compelling us into that space, you know? Can you let go of even the thing you love the most in the world for the sake of loving God? And that's the heart of it.
Well, you know, it's funny, because my approach to the Abraham Isaac story in many ways is let's clarify. And the first thing I think is clarifying is God is not a monster who is stepping in. And in that, though, I can tell you right now, he is not going to ask you to sacrifice your child, right? But in another sense,
in another way,
there is going to be, you're going to have to let go of, I don't know, you probably get this too, but I got an email from a mom whose son is now out of college and is back home, and he was really, really involved in his faith when he was in high school and in college. But now I'm just not getting a sense that he's really as involved, and I really think he might have a vocation, the priesthood, et cetera. And can you meet with him? And in response, I was like, I understand. if I may. And it was one of those kind of if I may. It's his story, it's his life, it's his vocation. You might need to back off a little.
Yeah.
And to her credit, she said, thank you so much. In my fear, I wanted to control the next step in his life.
Right.
And she's like, you're right, it's his vocation, God's like, but every parent has to at some point have an Abraham Isaac of I'm willing to let you go.
I'm willing to sacrifice you. Yeah.
And then so how this relates to heaven is at the end of our lives, every one of us is going to have to let go of all of it.
All of it.
Except for him.
Right.
Because that's the next step. You know, I was reading Sirach earlier today, actually, and it talked about, paraphrasing, the young man or the young person who experiences strength and experiences opportunity and experiences all these good things. Death is a burden, and death is unfair, essentially, to the old who experiences the weakness and experiences decline. Death is a relief. It's something you look towards. And there's something about the goodness of God in this.
Yeah.
Where to be able to be prepared for that next step through this whole process of waiting, and not just sitting back passively, but actively engaged with expectation. Okay, God, you're taking this away from me. This is, you're using the word testing, which I think is so appropriate, of course, but training.
Yeah.
Like this is training for letting go.
Do you know that Teilhard de Chardin has a distinction between the divinization of our activities and divinization of our passivities? I've always liked that. So we divinize our activities by giving them to God. And when we're young and we're full of energy and life, and I'm going to do this and do that for you, Lord, and the kingdom, blah, blah, blah. Great. You know, first half of life. When you're a young man, you tied your own belt where you wanted to go. Right. But now you're an old man. Now, Teilhard says, begins the real serious spiritual process of the divinization of your passivities, when your powers are kind of stripped away from you, but they become divinized by this act of surrender to God, you know, and you're being prepared for something thereby. And God does both. He acts in both those areas of life. And we've seen that pastorally, of course, whenever you're dealing with people who are aging or very aged, and they've come to a point of great weakness and so on. That's the moment often when God is most operative, you know. And yes, people that come to the edge of death, and they're ready, and they're ready to let go. So both of those are true, but it's the second one, Teilhard says, that's more important.
So the surrender, you use that word. Surrender. Yeah. At the heart, again, you said this is attained through love. So the summum bonum of heaven, attained through love. Whether it's the active,
the divinization of your activities or passive.
It's surrender. Right. And under surrender is, okay, God, I trust you.
Yeah. I trust you preparing something for me that eye has not seen, ear has not heard, that's greater than anything in this world. It's a greater good being held out to me. And I've enjoyed the goods of this world, which really are good. Right. They're good. The ensemble is very good.
You're not rejecting.
No, so we're not puritanical about it. They're all good. But okay, there's a summum bonum that's beyond these. And Lord, I have to trust you. You're going to show that to me and bring me to it. And that's the training of life, if you want. That's the long process to ready us for that.
Well, I think the church probably has a pretty long tradition of this training, this active divinization, passive divinization. Would you say, so this upcoming Advent, what are some of the things that people have done that would say, okay, this is that training. This is training my heart. Again, not just kind of, I'm trying to get over bad habits, like, you know, kind of sometimes we approach Lent like that, and get rid of some of these things, as opposed to, this is actually going to be that testing. This is whether it be an active divinization or passive kind of action, or, active mortification or passive mortification, that would help me attain through love heaven.
I mean, two things. Advent can be like a little Lent in a way, where it is an ascetical season, and you're meant to let go of certain things. And as I'm waiting, I don't want to be held back by all these different distractions. So that can be part of it. But prayer is so important to me in Advent. Yeah. You raise the mind and the heart to God. The famous definition of prayer. We get caught up in all the things of life and all the relative goods. All right, to pray is to say, I'm going to consciously attend to the highest good. And that takes time, and it takes effort. It's a season of vigil keeping. Or think of the 5 wise virgins, right, who are waiting for the bridegroom to come. and with our lamps lit, enough oil in the lamp. So there's the attentiveness of the spiritual life. So I think disciplines of prayer, ascetical disciplines are all appropriate during Advent. I don't know. I've always loved Advent. Like whenever that rolls around in the liturgy of the hours, oh, it's Advent. There's something. I think it's because it speaks to the whole of life.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that kind of delicious sense we have because, all right, everything in this life I've ever experienced. When you're a little kid, maybe you can think, I've achieved the summum bonum. Whatever.
Right.
But then pretty soon in life, you realize, no, whatever that is, it's not what I really want. Advent is when you're saying, okay, there's something I really want, and it's beyond my desire. It's beyond what I can even think about. And there's something that's C.S. Lewis's joy, right? Is that sense of, it's more ache than realization.
Yeah.
But there's a joy beyond what I can experience. And Advent's a time to savor that, seems to me.
Well, it's funny you say that. That takes time.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about how, for me, maybe a lot of people, there are so many great memories, nostalgia, all the connected with Advent, leading up to Christmas, and Christmas itself. And I found that even as an adult, a younger adult, I loved a lot of those things. And those things were just, oh yeah, I can't wait for this event. I can't wait. I mean, in good things, like my family gets together, we go to the Twin Cities and have, one random Saturday, have a nice meal before Christmas.
Yeah, right.
And it's just, my siblings with children, take them out shopping, they get all presents for each other.
Yeah.
And then we have a dinner. And it's like, that's so good. And I found that as time goes on, those are still good, but they don't satisfy. They're really, again, great opportunity.
Right.
But the accoutrement really of Advent, that's not the heart. You mentioned prayer being, this is the key, that it's somehow, again, remains good, but less satisfying, and therefore in some ways less distracting from the core.
Right, because you're longing for this thing and you're becoming more aware of that it's not this. Like, why is it, this is my experience, why is it Christmas Eve always seems to be better than Christmas Day in a way?
Yeah, oh, totally.
Emotionally speaking, like, hey, Christmas Eve. Even as a little kid, Santa's coming, Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day, I think like, hey, the presents, and I'm like, okay.
You just summed up every one of my Christmas Eve and Christmas days.
Right.
Right there.
Or like it's a December 26th mentality. That's the day after Christmas.
What's next? New Year's.
Messy house. But Christmas Eve, because Christmas Eve speaks more to this life in a way than Christmas Day. Yeah. Because Christmas Day will always be a letdown in this world.
Right.
Hey, the big day came and yeah, it was great, but what's next,
Yeah.
Where Christmas Eve gives that sense of, okay, there's something coming. And that's all of life, We're more Christmas Eve people in a way.
Yeah.
Than Christmas Day
that'll
people.
That'll preach.
But I think that's true in our experience. Even as a little kid, I remember Christmas morning. It'll never come back to me again, but the excitement of coming down to open the presents, that's great. But then opening the presents was like, yeah, how about that?
Yeah. So what do we do? How do we keep waiting well when we know, okay, in this life, we're Christmas Eve people?
Right. We cultivate a spirituality of detachment. So there's that word again, apatheia for the Greeks, indifferentia for Ignatius, living in the center of the wheel of fortune.
Yep.
That attitude of detachment. I look at the goods of the world, take them in, rejoice in them, and let them go.
Would you mind describing the Wheel of Fortune again? Because I remember it's one of the first things I ever heard you teach, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is incredible. Was it the rose window that had, or something?
Yeah, there are different versions of it. We just filmed, for the cathedral film. We did Amiens Cathedral, on the outside of one of the roses has a depiction of it. The Wheel of Fortune is a figure at the top who's like a king. He's got everything he wants. Then you turn the wheel this way, and there's a figure losing his crown. So, Then the bottom is a pauper who has nothing. And then the wheel turns this way, and it's someone climbing up to get the crown. And the point is, that's life, right? Life is this constant turning of the wheel. We're up, we're down. We're losing, we're gaining. Whether it's wealth or power or money or power, whatever it is, influence, sometimes I'm at the top of the wheel, sometimes at the bottom. And the thing is, every point of that wheel is a point of anxiety. Because if I don't have power, well, I'm full of anxiety. I'm climbing up, I might not get there. I'm losing, oh my God. I'm at the top, hey, great for a moment, but now petrified
lose
because
all of
he's
it.
coming to get me, and I. So the point is, the rim of the wheel is a point, always anxiety. Well, then in the middle of the wheel is a depiction of Christ, right? The same yesterday, today, and forever, who links you to the eternal. And live there, not on the rim of the wheel. When you're in the middle, you can watch the rim with a kind of detached insouciance. Yeah, okay, I'm up. It's great. It's not gonna last. All right, I'm kind of losing power now. Okay, that's the way it goes. I got nothing, you know. It won't last because it's gonna come back up again. Let go of it. Watch the wheel go round. But you live in the middle of the wheel. That's the right place spiritually to live.
And that's in that process, though. So that still happens to us.
Yeah.
But where our heart is essentially,
Right.
where what we care about most is in that center.
And then you're indifferent. Let's say Ignatius, like whether I have a long life or a short life, whether I'm rich or poor, whether they love me or hate me, I don't care. I'm indifferent to that because I'm following your will. See, I fall in love not with the benefits. The benefits means I'm living at the top of the wheel. Oh my God, I want all these benefits. And Lord, why are you taking them away from me? Don't live there. You're not in love with the benefits. You're in love with him.
Yeah.
And that's a ultimately liberating space to live in, right? But it's really, really hard.
Right.
Because we all are tempted by the rim of the wheel. That's I want to live, you know? And I gauge my life that way. Oh my God, I was doing so well and look at me now. Or, you know, I'm full of anxiety because I want to get up there and they're blocking me. Insouciance, indifference, apatheia, let go of that and live in the center of the wheel.
In that sense, God can use the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's
use
right.
it all to.
Right. Whether I have a long life or short life. So he'll use my long life for his benefit. He'll use my short life. He'll use my wealth. He'll use my poverty. And there, you know, the Jesuit missionaries, you know, in India, I'll strip everything off because I want to be like one of their gurus. I'll live in poverty. I'm in China. Their holy people lived in sumptuous robes. Okay, I'll put those on. Whatever serves the purpose of Christ, I'll do it. But that's a hard space to get into.
Yeah. It strikes me that purgatory and this life, what we're talking about, are maybe the same thing.
Yeah.
In a different sense, obviously.
Right. No, but there's a lot to that. Purgatory as a place of purgation, of purification.
Yeah.
Do most of us, I hope, die as friends of God, but insufficiently purified from these attachments that we have. And as purgatory, whatever precisely that means, it's a place of purification from these attachments that remain, you know. Anyone that's in heaven, C.S. Lewis always said that, whoever's in heaven is Saint so-and-so. If, please God, I get to heaven, I'll be Saint Robert Barron. You'll be Saint Michael Schmitz in heaven. But to reach that point, you know, certainly for me, purgation is going to be needed, you know. And as you say, so I think correctly, this life too has that purgatorial dimension. That part of what God is doing is trying to take those attachments away from us. Now read John of the Cross. You know, the active night of the senses and the soul, that's what we do. I can try to purify myself. The passive night, see, now we're talking, because now God's going to take away things that I'm attached to in my sensible life and then even in my in more spiritual life. So in that way, this life is a stripping away too, and a preparation and a waiting.
Well, I think of it in the sense of you make it to purgatory, you die in friendship with the Lord, but not prepared, not ready for heaven. Everything that happens to you in purgatory is oriented towards one goal, and that's to essentially prepare your heart for heaven.
Yeah.
And if I took that same mentality to this life, I'd say, okay, God, everything you bring to me, you're bringing this to me to prepare my heart to be able to, again, attain to heaven, going back to your original phrase.
That's the, you know, Jean-Pierre de Caussade, the great spiritual master who, he's not like John of the Cross, who encyclopedic, you know, but Caussade had one great idea, which is everything that happens to you is either directly or indirectly the will of God, right? God either actively wills it or permits it. Whatever happens to you. So right here, right now, this is the will of God. Okay, so what's he asking me to do? What opportunity is there now for grace? There's the little way also of Therese. You know, it's like, all right, here we are. What's the opportunity for love? How am I being prepared for greater love? And that could be some of the darker, more challenging times in your life. What's being stripped away? What are you too attached to, you know? And is God taking it away somehow? So you don't read your life as, yeah, God's involved sometimes, or most of life I'm kind of going through in a secular way.
Things.
And then suddenly God will, no, God's involved in everything. He's the ground of being. He's the ipsum esse. So whatever exists through the will and power of God. So what's the opportunity right now? That's the question to ask spiritually.
Well, it seems to come back to this kind of a principle that I've written on my wall, and it is, nothing is neutral to the soul.
Yeah. Right.
God can use
that's right.
everything.
That's right. But that's a hard space to get into, though. It is.
And to stand.
Yeah, it's a hard space to get into. Like, no, Lord. And how many people in the scriptures, I know I don't want this.
Right, yeah.
Why are you doing this? I don't want this. Instead of, all right, you've given this to me, so what do I do with it?
How do you want me to carry it?
How do you want me to carry it? Right.
So, Bishop, thank you so much for your time. Any words you'd say, okay, before someone presses stop on this podcast or on this video, here's what I think you should know.
You're not in control.
Oh,
and part of what waiting involves is that.
Yeah.
Like waiting for my mother when I'm a little kid. I can't control the situation. Wow. I'm not in control. In Dante's Divine Comedy, when he comes up out of hell and he's about to get into Mount Purgatory, he sees people, they're not yet on the mountain. They're just waiting. And why are they waiting? I don't know. They're waiting. They have to wait. Well, come on. I'm a very impatient person. That's one of my great spiritual flaws. I'm very impatient. I want what I want when I want it. No, you just have to wait.
Wow.
Well, how come? You have to wait. Because, you're not in control. God's in control of your life. And so waiting can just be a very important spiritual discipline to teach us that lesson, which is elemental in the spiritual life. You're not in control. Lord, it's you who've accomplished all I've done. It's no longer I who live, it's Christ who lives in me. Well, it might require waiting on my part to get that truth into me.
That was a great curveball at the end.
And I handled it. I handled it. No, I think I hit it like at least a double.
That was over the fence. Because all the things we're talking about, they can come back to this. I don't do this well because I want to be the one in control.
I'm in control of my life.
And so all of the active divinization, passive divinization, all these things comes down to I just have to accept and acknowledge and accept. But there is one who is in control.
Right. And your life's not about you. It's about Christ. And to decenter your life, that's the spiritual challenge. We always want to fall back. That's the gravity. Back into my ego, back into my projects and plans. Decenter that onto Christ. It's Christ's projects for me, Christ's plans for me. I think it's, as priests, the fact that we're not in control of our lives. People, all my life, okay, you're teaching at Mundelein. How long are you teaching at Mundelein? I don't know. It's up to the bishop. I'm rector of Mundelein. Well, you're rector of Mundelein. How long is that going to last? Do you have a term? I don't know. It's up to the cardinal. I don't know. I remember a lady seeing me at this fundraiser, and she was very mad. Why do they make you rector? You're pushing papers around that little seminary, and you should have this national, ministry. It's just the dumbest assignment. And the Cardinal George was there. And I said, "There's a little man in the next room with a red cape, and you can ask him all those questions." I don't know. Then I'm a bishop out in California. How long are you going to be an auxiliary bishop? I don't know. There's great wisdom in that. Whereas priests, we're not in control of our lives. I don't know. I could be in Minnesota the rest of my life. I could be transferred tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, that's life too. How long is this going to? I don't know. I mean, this is God's life, not mine.
Every one of us, this could be the last day of our lives.
Yeah.
We have no idea, and we don't have control over it.
Right.
And there's something about that is at the heart of God, not me, but you.
Right.
So thank you so much. This is so great, so helpful for me personally as we launch into Advent soon. And so thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for the benefit and the blessing of Word on Fire to the world, to my life personally. I think about how many times I find myself teaching something. Where did that come from? Like, that was Bishop Barron.
Of course.
That was probably Father Barron, and then now Bishop Barron. And I just am so grateful for the work of Word on Fire.
I appreciate that very much.
Grateful we can collaborate with Ascension and these two groups that are trying to do their best to bring the gospel to this world. And thank you for joining us today as we're entering into Advent to learn how to wait well.